Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another week of Ellie Power Hour. So far, we've had great attendance at Power Hour this year. We've had a lot of different ones. We have so many good ones coming. Today, we're going to talk about dust collectors, though something a little near and dear to my heart. But before I get into all that, my name is Ashley Biasella. I'm an educator with Light Elegance. I have been for about 6 years now, and I've been using the brand exclusively for 13 out of the 16 years that I have been licensed and working in the salon. So it's been a big part of my life. I developed allergies really early on to product, unfortunately. So it's been really great. They really did save my career 13 years ago because I thought I wasn't going to be able to do nails anymore once I started reacting to all these things. Light Elegance is very near and dear to me. So, having said that, like I said, today we're going to discuss dust collectors, which is technically outside of that Light Elegance realm. This is probably the only thing that I will kind of move outside of that, and it's only because we don't make one. And so today I'm going to talk to you guys a lot about that. And I'm going to show you though, like why my favorite combo is my dust collector and my Zippy. So you guys will get to see the Zippy in action, see my favorite bits, all of that. But I kind of want to start before I switch my camera over and start talking about the details of the dust collectors and getting into all of that. I kind of want to tell you guys a little bit of a backstory on why this is so important to me personally. Oh, and since I'm running this alone today, if you guys do have any questions, even if they're Light Elegance related, honestly, we're probably going to have time at the end. I mean, even if they're not related to like the Zippy or anything that I'm using, feel free to just put them in the chat if you want to not forget what you want to ask, and then I'll check it at the end. If I see something pop up, I'll snag it. But, sometimes running it by myself, I can miss things, just as a heads up. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with valley fever. And some of you have probably seen that on my socials. I've been pretty open about dealing with it and, what it was like and kind of the struggles that came along with that as a nail tech. So I live in Arizona. I live in the desert, and in the desert we have a spore called Cocciomyodes, sorry. And it is a spore that it's like a fungi, but it lives in the dirt. And so when we get these giant dust storms that we get here that are like thousands of miles high, they basically pick dirt up from really far outside of the city, and it carries it and kind of blankets it over the city. Well, sometimes in that dirt, these spores live, and if you inhale them, they get into your lungs. Well, for most people, they just kind of cough the spore back up and they feel like they have a cold or an allergy or something, or they might have to get mild treatment. And for other people, apparently the like top 3% of people who get valley fever get it really bad, and they have to be on a really harsh medication for a long time. And when I was first going through this, I was extremely sick, and I'm, going to the doctor, and I had to go see a pulmonologist for my lungs, and then had to get started immediately on this medication and treatment. So what happens is these spores get kind of stuck in your lungs, and they can attach to the tissue and kind of embed. So I have had pneumonia a few times in my life. I do have some lung scarring. However, they did a scope and they did all these other things. And one thing which people always kind of say offhandedly, being a nail tech, oh, you must breathe in a lot of dust. Oh, you must, have all of these particles like floating around. And it's, oh, yeah, we do. It's just part of it, right? We kind of laugh it off. We're covered in nail dust all the time. It's funny. Haha. Like I talk about how I have the dust handprints like on my thigh and my butt when I go to the store after I leave work. It's kind of a running joke, but at the same time, those particles, we are in fact inhaling them, and they are not leaving. Our lungs aren't something that can consistently like expel particles. Like that, we're not built to do that. So obviously, I say all this, I'm no doctor, but just from what my doctor explained to me, that when you have a job where you're constantly inhaling, and not just like artificial dust, but real dust, anything like construction workers, anything like that, like you're inhaling these fine particles, And, a lot of nail techs not only don't use a dust collector, but they don't wear masks. They don't wear any mouth protection. They don't wear any like nose or eye protection. So it's definitely something in the industry that I think we've just kind of accepted as a part of the job, but we worry so much about the tools that we have to do the rest of the job, our e-file, our curing lights, our product lines. Like we worry about all of this being clean and healthy, and we care about what it's doing to our bodies, but we don't think like the dust is something that's like literally right in our faces, but nobody tells us to worry about it. So it just kind of comes with the territory. And so what my doctor said was that as you continue to breathe in those particles, what happens is it can build up little bits of scar tissue where it kind of like creates almost these little pockets. And what happens if you inhale something like, say, valley fever, which obviously I know is not something that everybody has to worry about, but I'm sure there's other things you can, that are in different regions that are this similar to valley fever that you could inhale or it could affect your lungs. He said that it can make people who have natural allergies, it can make it worse. These things kind of build up in there, and, it was no guarantee, but he said that it's, possibility that because I had been doing this for so long and for large chunks of my career, I wasn't as worried about the dust, that it could have made me more susceptible in the end to valley fever. And so I don't say this to say get a dust collector so you don't get valley fever, but I think it kind of opened my eyes to the massive importance of the dust collectors. And I always knew it some, and it's nice to not be covered in dust all the time, but like I work for a brand who I work for because of the health factors. And, it's like I do that, but I didn't consider the other. So a long time ago, I started looking for dust collectors. I've spent a ton of money. I don't want to say brands, but the first one that I ever bought, I spent a lot of money. I mean, like over $500, over $600, $700. I probably spent almost $1,000 for the whole system. And it was the first of its kind. It went in my desk, like built in. And with the amount of money that I spent on it, it should have been just phenomenal. It stopped working like 2 months in, not completely stopped, but just didn't have any suck anymore. I kind of just dealt with it, and I wore a mask and it was like, whatever. And then eventually I just stopped using it. I threw it away, bought a new desk. It was a waste of money. Then I bought a new tabletop one. That one stopped working after 6 months. Now, mind you, I have always been in the salon many hours every day. I used to work 6 days a week, sometimes 7. So I needed the thing to work, and I continued to spend $300, $400, $500. Like I have always believed in spending the money for quality product. Like you spend the money and you get the reward and the benefit. However, I've never been able to find that balance with a dust collector that I felt like I spent the money and then actually got what it was worth out of it until a little over 3 years ago, I bought my first ULKA. And this company is fantastic. So, like I said, I am a brand ambassador for them now. However, that in no way, it's the same thing with Light Elegance. I work for Light Elegance because I love the product, because I trust the chemistry and I believe in what they stand for as a company. This is no different. The only reason that I am like doing anything with this company is because I believe in what they're doing. I think their product is quality. Like I said, this is my OG dust collector. So this is the ULKA Nano. And this is the first one that I bought, and it still works. This thing is fantastic, and I love it. And I am going to show you guys how it works. I just kind of wanted to show you like size difference. They do have several other options, but this is the Nano. This is like probably the most, I don't know, the size that would probably fit the most range of desks. I really like it for my desk, and I do have they have an armrest as well. And so it fits like really perfectly inside the armrest. And the height is really nice. It's like the perfect height to where you know, the client's hand is like resting over it, but it's not like they're sticking their fingers in it. It's not like you're having to hold your arm like really high up and crane your wrist. So they're really also concerned with the ergonomics of it and making sure that you're sitting properly. They even make these really amazing elbow pads for your elbow while you're like e-filing and everything. So the elbow that's stationary on the desk. And then this is the ULKA Handy. So this is the smaller one, which is honestly just as amazing. But the main difference between these two guys, without getting like super into it yet, is just that this does have dual fans. So this has two fans underneath of here, so it's a little more powerful. So it has a higher cubic meter that it covers. And then this one just has the single fan. So obviously it's a little bit cheaper as well, but I'm going to switch cameras so that I did, like I said, I dipped a little swatch stick here in a bunch of builders so that I can show you guys like what it looks like and what it sounds like. I do always see people asking, you know, they're like, what's a good dust collector that's quiet? I don't really think that there is such a thing. I think if you want enough suction that it's actually doing its job, you're not going to have a dust collector that is super quiet. I do think that this one is surprisingly manageable sound-wise for as much as it pulls in and as well as it works, because me and my client, I can have it on almost full blast and me and my client can still have a conversation. So unless my client is talking like at a very super low level or she's like almost trying to like tell me something secretively, then I struggle a little bit, but I'm actually 97% deaf in my left ear and I can still hear them even talking more quietly over top of this. So I feel like it's not as loud as some that I've purchased in the past. It just, I don't think that quiet and quality can coexist when referencing dust collectors. And maybe that's just a personal opinion, but I've never had a good quiet dust collector that actually does what it's supposed to do. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch cameras really quick. Okay, so when talking about the ULKA Nano, like I said, it has dual turbo fans. So these have a suction speed of 3.5 meters per second. And it has a approximate field of 450 to 500 meters per hour. So it's, I think the equivalent is like 11 and a half feet of power. That's how much like radius it can suck in. And with the filter, so this does have a magnetic grate that can come off. And so you can sanitize this, wash it, and then this filter comes out, and then you have your dual turbo fans here. So this is reversible and you can pull it out. And what I like to do is I set it on my desk and I kind of run my fingers along it, almost like an accordion. And that's how I get my dust out. Now you can also like take an air compressor and blow the filter out, but those you want to change every 2 to 3 months or so, unless of course you put like a cover over top of your dust collector when you're running it. So I will use ULKA makes sheets that go over, but I've also used my Light Elegance big wipes to cover while I'm doing it, and I do have to run it on high when I do that, but it works really well. And then all you have to do is remove that sheet and throw it away. And so that's typically what I like to do. I did just run out. I need to I did not place an order in time. So yes, I will at the very end. I just had a question if I could show the whole thing with the wrist rest before I go to questions at the end. I'll just pick the phone up and kind of show you guys like my whole desk setup. So that way you can see what it looks like when I actually am set up for a client. So this has a power button on the side here. So once I plug it in, I can turn it on that way. And then this has the controlling dial. And then there is actually also a USB-C and a USB plug on the side as well that you can plug in to power. So if you like, okay, so sometimes when I'm recording a video for social media, I will plug in I have a little box light that I use on my desk to light up everything so that I get really good camera quality. Sometimes I just plug it into that. One time I had a client plug in her phone. It's super nice. So if I turn this on, this is on low. So this dial controls how high the speed is functioning. So right now this is the lowest it goes. And I'm going to gradually turn it up. So this is about medium. That's full speed. And this is about where I run it when I'm working. Sometimes if I'm really debulking, I'll run it at about here. But even on low, even while you're doing prep, it's really nice to just to pick up like even the little bits of natural nail particle while you're prepping. Even while I'm, filing, it's nice to just catch that little bit too. And then you don't have to have it up as loud. But I'm just going to turn it back up again. But I really don't think it's that loud. Because right now, my phone is at about the height where, my mouth is. So that's about the height where me and my client are talking over top of the dust collector. So I feel like it's really not that loud for as well as it works. And the regular price on this guy is $480, but I'm telling you, it is 1,000% worth the investment. Like I said, I've spent more than that and had the dust collector not work. So to me, $480 is not bad for what you get out of these. Now, this is the Handy, so you can kind of see just like by a size reference. I had both of my hands on that other one. It's a lot smaller. It's about half the size, I would say, maybe slightly bigger than half the size. Me personally, because I'm an educator and I travel a lot, this is my godsend. I love this thing. I love having this in my educator kit. And it's just it's so handy, pun intended. But same thing, we have our power button, we have our dial here. This one does not have the like charging ports or anything like that on the side like the Nano. It's definitely the bougier version. And you guys can, as far as I know, like they have different colors in the box for sure. And then they have different colors in the grates. So me personally, I think just because I have so much light elegance in the salon, everything is fairly pink and white. So I do a lot of, my desk is white, my drawers are white. So I went with white and the silver grate. And then the Handy by comparison. So I said that the ULKA Nano has the dual turbo fans that are 3.5 meters per second. The ULKA Handy is 3.3 meters per second. So it's only slightly less powerful, but not by much. And then the airflow is the 450 to 500 meters per hour for the Nano. This is 350 to 400. So the cubic square feet that it can suck dust in from is still pretty large. It's not that much different, but it's because it has that single fan instead of the dual turbo fans. And it does use a little bit less power if that's a concern for you. The Nano is 58 watts and the ULKA Handy is 30 watts. But same thing with our filters. You want to change them every 2 to 3 months, unless you're using those towels. Like I said, you can use the ULKA towels or the Light Elegance big wipes. And if you do that, then you don't have to change your filter as often. You only have to change it every 4 to 6 months instead of every 2 to 3 months. So I typically only have to change my filter 3 times a year, but I also do use an air compressor to like dust them out every once in a while. And then this is so you guys can hear the sound on this one. So this one on low is really quiet. Basically sounds like it's not even working. This is about medium. And then this is full power. And then another thing I want to show you guys while I have this on and plugged in. So ULKA also makes, like I said, they make other ones as well. They make a pedicure rest to hook the dust collector to. They make quite a few different sizes, and they also make other dust collectors that are more angled, have an armrest, but they are dust. They're like dust. I'm sorry, the bags. The collectors are the bags instead of the filters. The only thing I don't care for when it comes to a bag is that it does kick air out the side. So that's always something to consider when you're selecting your dust collector. Like, how do you like to work? What do you need? What do you need on the side? I know. I'm like, if everybody's not hearing anything, I'm wondering if it's the mic, because that's crazy. Even if, what if I hold it up here? Wow, that's crazy. Okay, it must be a microphone thing. Well, either way, it's not very loud. So I'm going to turn this up. Okay. So I'm going to have this on a higher level, and I'm going to show you how much it blows the wipe. So you can see a little bit of air coming out, but it's not super strong. So that's the other thing that I don't like about a lot of dust collectors is that when you're filing, these things kick so much air out the side that it just blows everything around. And these do kick some air out the side. But like I was showing you with this guy next to it, like it was moving it some, but it's not, like blowing it out of my hand. So I don't have any issues with how much it kicks out the side. Now, the ones that have the bag collector, those do kick a little bit more than the filter ones. So, like I said, those are my two favorites because the smaller one I travel with, and the larger one I use for day to day in the salon, because even though I am busy being an educator and doing things for Light Elegance, I still work a crazy amount in the salon. So I always need the extra power. Whatever I buy, I always have to buy like the most aggressive or the most like powerful, because I need it to be a workhorse just like me. Okay. Well, I appreciate that my microphone is making sure that you guys can hear me and not any other crazy noises, but I kind of wish you guys could hear how quiet this is. Okay, so for those of you who have not seen the Light Elegance Zippy, this is mine. She's very well loved. Does have the forward, and then it has the neutral and then reverse, and then it does run up to 35,000 RPM. I love this baby. It is also very quiet, and the handpiece has very low vibration, which is why it's my personal favorite. And I have had this thing, speaking of workhorses, this baby is a true workhorse because she does 7 to 10 clients a day, 4 to 5 days a week. So it's crazy. Oh yeah, I just saw a comment that said that you could tell by me raising my voice that I was having to talk over something. But yeah, even the level that I feel like I was talking, even feeling like I wanted to make sure you guys could hear me, that's about the level that I have to talk to my client. So it's not like I have to yell to hear them. And there's two of us in here, me, myself, and I actually are one of our other educators, Christy Angel. She works in here with me. She also has a Nano, an ULKA Nano. And so we'll both be running them at the same time, both with clients, and we're both talking to our clients. And you can still hear our music, you can hear us talking, and it's not like we're like yelling over each other, or, it's not like chaos. It's totally fine. Or even once she bought a Nano, and then I could hear her with her Nano on and talking to her client, it really truly made me realize how quiet it is. Because even if, sometimes you might be talking over something and you feel like you're being loud, I feel like listening to her, I was like, oh, I'm like, okay, it really isn't that loud. And you really can't, I don't feel like I talk that loud. And she was like, no, it's super quiet. Like, you're quiet when you talk over it. So it's crazy because it does work really well. Like I said, I just literally glopped some builder on here just to show you guys how well this works. Oops. I just hit my whole stand here. Sorry. And then I am going to be using a different bit today. So I kind of practiced this because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to file. My speedy bit is my favorite, my Light Elegance speedy bit. But because this is on a tip and not a finger, when I was trying to use it, it was like, so I am going to use the Erica's safety carbide bit and coarse. So this is usually, I'll use this if I don't need to do a lot of debulking, but for debulking, my speedy bit is my absolute go-to. So I'm going to run this at 22,000 RPM, and then I'm going to turn on my dust collector, and I'm going to put it, especially since you guys can't hear it, I'm going to put it to about where I typically put it. What here? Actually, let's start lower so you guys can see what it's like on low. I'm going to try to hold this back a little bit so hopefully you guys can see the dust. So this is on low. And I don't know if you can see the, there we go. I'm going to push a little harder. Can you guys actually see the particles going down into there? Because they're all right here. And I'm going to show you what I look like after this as well too. I'm not going to dust myself off. So that's on low. So now I'm going to turn it up on high. Let me see if I can zoom in at all. Whoa. That might be a little close, but let me try. Probably should have put darker gloves on. Hold on. Let me put on a darker glove. I think that's going to help you guys see this better. Okay, so let me zoom out. Let me zoom back out. Or, oh my gosh. Try to. There we go. Okay, so this is what I typically wear on the day-to-day. So I just saw a question that they typically end up with their hand in between the client's hand and the collector so it doesn't come out. So a lot of times that's because people are having their dust collector in the wrong spot. So most people, especially when I watch other nail techs, like if I'm teaching a one-on-one in a salon or something, a lot of nail techs think that their client's hand needs to be right over the grate. But in all actuality, you want to have the dust collector closer to you and you want to be holding your client's hand about right back here. Because then as you're filing, that dust is coming this way. So that way, when you're filing, then the dust collector actually catches the dust while it's flying. So I'm going to put my e-file back up to 22,000 RPM. And then I'm going to turn on my dust collector. Now I am going to show you, I'm going to hold my hand under this in hopes that it'll help you see the dust a little bit better. So I want you guys to be able to see the particles. So that's how much is coming off of there. Trying to pick it up as much as possible. See if I can zoom in again. Whoa. That was too much. Okay, let's try again. Okay. So I'm going to turn that down. Now, you guys saw how much product was on that tip, right? So I tried to basically just file a bunch of it down. And then this is how much is on my e-file. Let me zoom back out. So I have a decent bit on my e-file here. And also when you buy ULKA, I don't use it like, you know, with clients, obviously, but just for cleaning purposes, like before I sanitize everything, they do send you this really cute little duster brush. So I'm going to turn that off, unplug. Not that you would have to unplug to do this, but I'm just going to do it just to get the cord out of my way. This is how much is on the grate. Okay, so my hand. So that's how much dust is on the grate. And there's quite a bit on the backside as well. Now this is not normally how I clean it. I'm just showing you guys how much dust is just on the grate alone. And then if we take this out, so also I want to show you guys this because a lot of times my dust collectors, when you take the filter out to clean it, there's so much dust inside the dust collector. But with these filters, they're so good. That does not happen. Now, that can happen if you don't change your filter frequently enough. That definitely can happen. Okay. I'm going to flip this over. And this is what I typically do to get the dust to release. So you want to change this or do this about I try to do it after every client, then sanitize the grate and everything, but you could just do it every two to three clients, like maximum or minimum. Okay. So there was quite a bit of dust on my glove. And then there's a decent little pile. Now that's just one, you know, that was just one tiny little tip of a nail. And that's not even all the dust that I just got out. It's just kind of what I kind of got piled up. But point being, let me flip cameras now. And I'll show you guys oh wait, actually I wanted to show you hold on. Before I switch cameras, I said I would show you guys what my setup looked like. Okay. Let me put the grate back up over here. Now we're going to have a little bit of what is that called? A little bit of like inception here because you guys are going to see my laptop. Stand here. So this is how my setup is. So this is where my armrest sits, and then my client will put their hand over the armrest, and I will back my dust collector up to probably about pretty close to the edge of my desk, so that when their hand is resting down over the armrest, their fingers are just barely over top of the grate. And so that way when I'm filing and it's coming at me, it's getting sucked down into the dust collector and not coming like up in the air or like up towards me at all. And then this, I just have my elbow rest right here to the left of the dust collector. So I have my elbow there, and I will rest the side of my wrist here, hold my client's hand, and then file with my right hand. Now, part of this with this dust collector in particular is so important to me because when you're holding your client's hand or when you're working, the ergonomics of it are so important for longevity, and so that you don't start damaging like all of those tiny little muscles and like tissues in your hands. It's really important that you're not craning your wrist one way or the other while you're working. And so I really love the height of this because if you notice, my elbow's now resting. I'm not straight on my elbow, but I'm resting on this elbow pad. And then as I rest my arm, my wrist is not craned. There's no bending or craning happening. I'm not doing this. My wrist just cracked. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm sure you guys all do that multiple times a day too.
but it's really important to keep basically straight angles for all of your body parts. So our arms, our shoulders, our necks, you want to make sure that you're, leaning forward and not tilting your head down. You want to keep your back straight and then lean forward, so there should be a straight line up your back into the back of your head. You shouldn't be tilting your head down, but this helps a lot. And then I did see a question about it being too high, or if it's too high for shorter clients. I don't have an issue with that. And I do have some clients, like I'm 5'5", and some of my clients are shorter than me, and they don't have an issue with it. But I will also kind of move it forward and back depending on the client, and I'll just adjust it as I need to. And then I also have a crisscross chair. So it's like a really big leather crisscross chair. And so sometimes it is height adjustable. Yeah. Right now, I think it's at the highest setting, but it usually doesn't move. Like, people don't move it around. It usually it sits fairly low. It's pretty low. But yeah. Okay, I'm going to switch cameras again. Oh, just to show you guys, I have no dust on me. There might be like a teeny tiny little particle somewhere, but there's no dust. That's the most important thing to me, personally, is that there's dust on my desk. There's dust on the dust collector. There's dust all over my e-file. If I filed enough that my e-file looks like this, and then I don't have anything on me, that's a big deal to me. That's really why I freaking love these things. So let me go to is the dust collector available globally? Yes, they are actually a Ukrainian company. So you can order from either a distributor or from directly through ULKA, which I believe is what you would need to do. The armrest came from ULKA as well. So they do have different colors, but ULKA. And they have very cute branding on things. So I love that too. It's kind of funny because like I made the joke to my husband that pink is my least favorite color. And I now am affiliated with 2 companies that are like pink and white. But at least they're cohesive. At least they, go together. For this guy, before we get into the questions and everything, yes, very classy. I do have a discount code for you guys. Actually, my Light Elegance discount code for today will be, oh my gosh, I'm like me doing this all by myself. I'm like, oh, what is my code? It's 0121 for Light Elegance, Ashley 0121. And then my code, thank you so much for putting that in there. And then my code for ULKA through Banana Nail Supply is BADASH10. So you guys can use that to save 10% on any ULKA products through Banana Nail Supply. Let me check the chat. Can you recommend easy removal nail stickers that have a tab, which could be used to practice hard gel nail extensions? So I can't remember what the brand is, but I know you can buy them. You can get different ones on Amazon. I usually look for things that are more pertaining to like photo shoots. Then try not to look for like peel off base coat or like something like that. Look for like photo shoot nail application, like something like that. But also, one trick that I really like to do is to just really buff my natural nail to a high shine and then put some cuticle oil on it before I apply my product and it'll pop right off. But I'm going to try to find, there was someone else who had reached out to me that asked that as well. Actually, a couple people recently. I need to find that and then I'll post that link on my Instagram as well, which for those of you that don't have that is badash_nails. And then let me see if there's any other questions. And then if anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question,
you're more than welcome to as well, even if it's not related to what we're, doing right now. If it is, great. If it's not, I'm also happy to answer any other questions you guys have.
I just saw something on the internet about basically like a little tabletop. People use it for like dentistry work and whatnot. One version had a shop vac that came up and around, and then another person was using a tabletop one that had a filter inside, but it wasn't something they plugged in. It didn't look like. I'm not really sure. But I was thinking of what do you think about? I have a dust collector now that I like. It's fine. I think maybe I need to work on positioning to get a lot of dust on myself. But I was thinking about having like just while I'm debulking mostly, like an extra one that's like above so the suction's coming from everywhere and hopefully getting less
Right.
on me.
Yeah,
don't
there
know.
is. I mean, if you have one on your desk, you shouldn't be getting that much on you. So I would say that's largely in part to maybe the dust collector that you have. But I think having something above is always great because a lot of those finer particles do fly. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, there are other brands like Sunflower, and I'm trying to think, is it Vex or Invex or Vector? Something like that. They both make over the shoulder dust collectors. I will say, I think that they're phenomenal and I think they look like an amazing option for the salon. However, they are at an extremely high price point. Like I'm talking over $1,000 for the setup.
Oh yeah, this was like $100 on eBay.
Yeah.
It's like the little one, probably.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm saying you could definitely try. I don't think it ever hurts to try anything. But yeah, I think that there's definitely like the in-betweens and then there's like a really high. But I feel like the over the shoulder would never be a bad thing to add if you wanted to have both. And I think I just saw a question. Oh, does ULKA say it's harder on the motor if you use a towel or a wipe? No, actually, they recommend, so they make their own wipes, and then they recommend that you put something over top of it to help make it last longer. But the dual fans are actually, they're created to be able to suck through that. So it's really durable. And do you have a suggestion for a cheaper nail vac for those who don't use it as often, maybe closer to the 200 price? I know that the ULKA Handy, I believe, is closer to is either 200 or it's close to 200. So the ULKA Handy is usually what I recommend if you are looking for something that's a little bit more affordable and you're not in the salon like 4 to 5, or more than that days a week. I think the ULKA Handy is like the kind of like nice in between if you're either like starting out or, like I said, if you're a traveling nail tech or mobile nail tech, something like that, then the ULKA Handy is really great. The holiday nail mixer that I hosted here in Phoenix in December, ULKA actually sponsored and put the ULKA Handies in all of the giveaways that we did. And everyone who has had it has raved about it, has messaged me and been like, oh my God, this thing is so small, but so powerful. It's amazing. So that's a really good option for on the lower end of the price range. And I really like that they have multiple options because a lot of companies only have one and it's $500 and that's it. So I like that they have the varying price ranges and different options and they're just as high quality.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
Since there's such a great need for this dust extractor, and I'm saying this jokingly because Leslie always says she's going to lock Jim in a lab until he comes out with it. And since you have such great ties with the corp, try to get Jim to design us one because I know he can do it. And it would have the light Elegance name on it. It's something we can buy in the United States. It's something that's made in the United States. And people don't, I'm sure this other dust extractor is great. Somebody wants to get one until he designs one, but I think if Jim could design one, that would be awesome. So if you can talk to Leslie and have him lock him up in the lab until he comes out with one. And we wondering if there's any more magnetic polishes coming out in different colors. You probably can't say that because they always like to keep things a secret.
The magnetic polishes are not done. I will say that is not the last of the magnetic polishes that you will see.
I'm
Um,
assuming that we got a Valentine, a spring collection coming up real quick here.
We do have a spring collection coming early February. Yeah, spring, summer.
Okay, thank you.
As far as the dust collector, I have had conversations with Jim, and I do know, and I did have this conversation once again before affiliating myself with this brand. There is no future intentions to create a dust collector through Light Elegance. That's definitely something that I agree would have been nice, because trust me, I feel the same way. Although I will say, with my code, being able to use it through Banana Nail Supply, it is a privately owned, it's a small business, it's a beauty supply in Chicago, and she's a wonderful person. So you would still be supporting a company within the US by purchasing through Banana Nail Supply. But I agree. I do, like, I love that Light Elegance is made in the US. I love that we manufacture our own products. But unfortunately, I do know that's not something that we intend to do at this time. So if that ever changes, great. But I've definitely had that conversation with Jim as well. And it's just not, I think, our main focus is the chemistry in manufacturing gel products and things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And then what is the ULKA Tiny and how does it compare to the Handy? So the ULKA Tiny is, I believe, a bag dust collector. That's the main difference, because it's smaller, but then it has the bag as opposed to the filter. I believe the Handy is the smallest filter dust collector that they carry. I'm also excited to hear about more kitties. I cannot wait for the new collection launch. Yes, I definitely have been, well, I have two of them on right now. I have Ice Kitty and Stormy Kitty. Those are my two favorites. And my birthday's on Monday, so I'm doing my birthday festivities this weekend. I had to have cat eye on because that's like my favorite thing to wear ever. So I definitely also will look forward to more of those coming out. Sell the same filter that they use for the Handy. Okay, I could be thinking of a different product of theirs. The Tiny could also be similar to the Handy, but I thought that the Handy one was the very small one, or the Tiny, sorry, was the much smaller one. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Oh, the jellies over Stormy, fantastic. Love them. Do you also wear a mask, and do you have a recommendation? Yes, I always wear a mask. I wear my mask for 90% of my service. And also, I have very sensitive skin. So for anybody who cares about tips and tricks for that, I typically don't wear makeup from here down. Like, I'll wear liquid blush or something when I'm in the salon, but I won't wear makeup on like my chin or anything, because especially during COVID, oh my gosh, it made me break out so bad. I will actually, when I take my mask off, at the end of the day, I do actually keep like makeup wipes in the salon to just cleanse my face really quick after I take my mask off. So these are just like, I just get these on Amazon. But this is what I really like to use. They're black. They're like the carbon filter ones. That's why I like them, because they actually like filter out like different, they have like more layers of protection to them. But I get those on Amazon. I think I actually have them linked in my Amazon link. I'm not 100% sure. Oh, yes. I just saw a comment that said that the Handy is $200 at Banana Nail Supply. So I thought it was around the 200 range, which means if you purchase that at Banana Nail Supply, you'll get 10% off of that. So it'll be a little under 200. And oh, yes. I'm so sorry. I did confuse. I needed to look up the ULKA Tiny. I did confuse the ULKA Tiny with the bag filtered dust collector. So the ULKA Tiny, the main difference, it is the same filter size and everything. It just has that lift so that it's at an angle as opposed to flat. So some people like to have more of that angle for the wrist angle as opposed to having it flat on the desk. Me personally, I don't have my clients sitting high enough that they would be able to have their hands over an angled dust collector, but it's absolutely just preference. So the other ones I'm thinking of are they are also angled. They're bag dust collectors because the bag has to be inside of it. So that's what I was picturing in my head. I have Amazon links. How do I find those? I have a link tree I think it's called a Linktree link in the bio of my Instagram. And that has basically links to everything that you could possibly ever ask me. Like, it has all of my discount codes. It has my favorite places that I shop. So it has like Gemini Cosmetics on there. It has discount codes for anything else I use. Like, I'm a Buoy affiliate. If you've ever used that brand, I have chronic illness, so I love using like anything good for hydration. So I have discount codes for that. I have my Amazon links that has anything that I purchased in the salon, either decor or tools or anything like that. If there's anything I purchase on Amazon, it's on there, and it's all categorized by what I use for travel and anything like that. So are there any other? Oh, you mentioned that there is an attachment if using the dust collector for the pedicure. Do you own it, or is it on Banana's website? I'm not sure if that's something that Banana carries. I know that you can get it directly through ULKA. I know that other like beauty supplies have had them. So I'm assuming Banana would probably have it. I don't personally have it. I am going to get it though, because I've used it. I tested it out at they were at the Orlando trade show last year. And I went over there and I was like, I want to see this in person. And it was fantastic. But it has there is a specific dust collector that actually fits and has like a little bar. Oh my God, there's little birthday cakes appearing on the screen. That is so cute. I was like, I saw that pop up earlier and I didn't realize what it was, but I think because someone was saying happy birthday, it made little birthday cakes pop up. That's so cute. But it does have a like little ledge on the dust collector so that it attaches to the pedicure base. Does Banana have the client armrest sold separately? Yeah, it should. They should have the armrest and they should have the elbow rests. It's possible, something could be out of stock. I know this stuff's definitely is really popular, so it can go quick, but they should have the armrest as well. And then if Banana Supply doesn't have it, so the way that ULKA works with our discount codes is they try to spread the love around to all the distributors. So currently that code works for Banana Nail Supply and Banana Nail Supply only, but Fox Nails in Texas also they also carry ULKA products, and so does Nail Art House. So sometimes just because they're so popular and they do sell out, I will periodically order from either Banana Nail Supply, Nail Art House, or Fox Nails. And they do, different deals and sales all year. But if I ever have a code, this one should be good through the end of January to purchase through Banana Nail Supply. But if I ever have a code, I will always post it and let you guys know like where the code is for so that you can purchase through there as well. Man, you guys are on this. You guys, Banana has it. Okay. Height-wise, do you prefer a dust collector built in or on top of the table? I see there is a built-in one as well. Yes, we have two built-in ones actually. There's the original built-in, and then they just came out with the even stronger one, the Tornado, which I'm super excited about. I really, personally, I always thought I liked the one in the table just because it was more convenient. I didn't have to move it around, like all of this. However, I really like being able to like fully take this apart and clean it and not worry about it being in my desk. But also, though, I think ergonomically, I like, because of where my client's armrest is, I like that their hands kind of sit perfectly, at that height. But I like being able to completely clear off my desk. So I prefer the tabletop because sometimes I would just and I have OCD, so it's like it would bother me that I couldn't remove that. And if I wanted to take pictures, I had to take it at a certain part of the desk because there was something big and silver built into the top of my table, and my tabletop is white, and I couldn't take pictures on it anymore. And that's kind of why I started doing. A lot of people used to really know me because I had a specific white fluff that I use behind my clients' nails, and they loved it, but I kind of hated it, but I used it because it covered the dust collector. So if you go way back on my Instagram and you see any pictures that have a white fluff under the nails, that's because I had to cover my dust collector to be able to take a picture with a white background on my desk. So me personally, I think just because I do so many different modalities, not just doing nails, like I also do like content for Light Elegance, and I do, I try to have the social media presence and all of that, that I like being able to remove it. But I think that one in your desk is a fantastic way to go, especially if you have an IKEA tabletop. They're super easy to cut and fit to a dust collector. So I think they both have their pros and cons. I think it's really just a personal preference. But me personally, I do really like being able to fully remove it. Do you keep it on your table during your whole service? No, I actually do remove it. I take it away as soon as I'm done with like prep and filing and everything. And then I move it away, and then I kind of like clean everything up, and then proceed with my service. And I do have a table towel underneath of it, so I fold that up and roll it out of the way. So that way there's no dust, no potential for anything getting involved in the gel application portion of my service. So I do put it away in a drawer in my Alex drawer. Please, can we have a power hour about taking photos? I was feeling like I did a power hour on that, but I guess that was just content, I think. So yeah, I will add that into the roster for power hour for the future, for sure. All right, before I wrap this up, does anybody have any other questions? So I have some exciting announcements. Okay, no? What was the smaller one called? Oh, ULKA Tiny or ULKA Handy. ULKA Tiny was the one that has the angle. ULKA Handy is the one that is just flat. The other one that I showed you guys. So this one just sits flat. It doesn't have an angle. The other one sits like this. So I am super excited. I mean, as always, love you guys for continuing to show up for Power Hour. We really appreciate it. This is a really fun way for us to share education and to get involved with the community and create an even bigger and better LE family. So that being said, I'm super excited to announce that we have many classes getting scheduled and are now live on the website. I just posted everything on my story right before I hopped into Power Hour, but we posted our trade show schedule. So we are going to be at the one show in Portland. We're going to be at the Nail Tech event in the Smokies in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And we will also be at the Utah Nail Expo in Provo. So that's super exciting. The class before the one show and the class before the Nail Tech event in the Smokies, I will be teaching both of those classes. They will be one-day classes, and we're teaching a version of 318. So it's actually going to be an advanced sculpting class. So it will be earth sculpting and shaping. So we're going to do half of the sculpting is going to be with traditional forms and learning how to do more advanced shaping. And then we're going to get into dual forms and of course some art, because I can't teach a class without nail art. Let's be real. So we're doing those at the trade shows. So those are now live on the website. If you want to go sign up, if you're going to be at any of those shows, I would love to have you guys in class. We're also hosting 2 more HQ classes. So 2-day classes at Light Elegance headquarters. They're going to be on March, I believe 9th and 10th, and then June 14th and 15th, something like that. But they're on the website as well. So all of that is listed. And then I know that I said this last time, but we also have all of our classes and demos that we're teaching at Nail Camp here in Arizona. It's going to be in Prescott. And I'm super, super excited about that. So if you guys are interested in any of those classes, definitely go to the Light Elegance website, go to the classes section and see all the things we have coming this year. And there's going to be even more posted. Jackie, I would love to see you at HQ in June. You should definitely come down. Yeah, a lot of exciting stuff coming. And I hope to see you guys in person at some point, somewhere. If you do see me, definitely come up and say hi, because I love seeing everybody out in the wild. I think the in-person aspect of the industry is just like my favorite thing ever. All right. Well, thank you guys again. Thanks so much for joining us for Power Hour. And thank you guys so much for all the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. I do have some fun planned this weekend, so I'm excited for that. And then next week we have Felicia, I believe. She's doing a Power Hour on how to stay booked and busy in the new year. So tune in for that as well. So I'll see you guys next time.
Bye.